I'm a psychiatrist. I work in mental health. I believe that mental health is going to become the most important area of medicine. I also work with children and young people, and we're going to look at the global burden of disease, and we're going to discuss the problem with automatic thinking, the problem of depressive relapse. Then we'll have a look at mindfulness and its role in treating depressive relapse. I'm going to give you two very short practices that I think demonstrate the core skill we're asking young people to develop that will help them throughout their lives. And that's the choiceful redirection of attention. I think mindfulness we need to conceive of as the direction of attention. So young people might find it more difficult to locate their breath, so we need to help them. We need to give them more of a stimulus. So I'm going to invite you to hold your hands out. Just hold out one hand. And we're going to do a mindfulness of breathing, okay? But you're going to use your finger, and you're going to bring your finger up for an in-breath, and down for an out-breath. Okay? That's going to be the basic practice. Why do we do it like this with young people? It's because young people need more of a stimulus. They need that somatic, strong stimulus of the stroke of the finger. And they also need to self-soothe. Because whenever we ask a young person to do something, they get a burst of anxiety. So this combines kind of breath attention with also a degree of self-care as well. So we'll just do that practice. The other thing that we do by modeling that exercise is we slow the breath, okay? We can support children's anxiety by just getting them to pay attention to the breath and to slow it. The other thing that is a core skill in mindfulness is knowing what's going on in your body, okay? We need to find the wisdom of our body. So I have tense shoulders when I get stressed, okay? My wife gets an ache in her jaw. Some people get migraines. They're all, we have a signature of stress within us. But locating that for young people is more of a challenge. We have to teach them to do this. So we just do some exercises where they begin to identify the different sensations in their body. So this is going to just be a really simple one. If you hold both your hands out, and just try and direct your attention into your hands. Close your eyes. Okay. What do you notice in your hands? This is quite a difficult thing to ask a young person to do. It might be tingling, it might be warm, it might be cool. For some of us, there might even be a little bit of a kind of niggle, an itch, or even a pain. A young person is going to find this more difficult to locate what the sensations are. Okay, so I will invite you to open your eyes. Close your eyes and do the same thing. Notice your hands. Just attend to the physical sensations in your hands. And it's through just doing a simple exercise like this, thank you so much, that we can begin to wake up young people to what's going on in their body. The good news, all around the world, we're living longer. Okay, so this is a graph of when people were born, okay, and this is their life expectancy. So if you were born around 1970 in a developed nation, you could expect to live to around about 68, okay? If you, across the world, that figure's around about 50. All around the world, we're richer as well. So this is GDP growth, okay, by percentage points. from 2007 to 2013. Okay, we're growing at pretty steady rates. We had a bit of a nasty time in 2008 and 2009, which we didn't foresee. But actually, we're growing at about 2% a year, maybe a little bit more. But depression is becoming more and more of a priority worldwide. These are figures from the World Health Organization. In 1990, depression was the 4th leading cause of disability worldwide. Look at what it's projected to become in 2020, though. Depression will become the number 2 cause. And most non-governmental organizations predict that mental health problems will become the leading cause of disability for the next generation. Why has depression become the leading cause of illness? It's not because it's becoming epidemic, it's because we've got so good at dealing with other things. So this is a global study, and they asked 3 very simple questions. 1, what are you doing right now? 2, how happy are you? 3, is your mind wandering? But this is happiness along here. That's us feeling really sad. And that's us feeling great. In fact, a little bit too good, really. This is mean happiness along here. So this is the average. Mind wandering might seem relaxing, but it costs us because we gravitate towards negative automatic thoughts. So this is the founding figure of psychology, William James. He's American. This is written in about the 1890s. The faculty of voluntarily bringing back a wandering attention over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will. An education which should improve this faculty would be the education par excellence. So William James, back in the 1890s, was saying, we need to find a way of directing our attention. We need to find a practice that teaches this as a skill. Okay. The evidence that a wandering mind makes us unhappy is also backed up by cognitive neuroscience. So there have been stunning advances in this field as we're able to scan the brain. This was something that was discovered in the 2000s. It's an area of the brain, and right in the middle of your brain, right in the very center of your brain. Okay? And we call this area, which is made up of things like the anterior cingulate cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, we call that the default mode network. Okay? It's called default because it's switched on when we're not doing anything. So it's the thing that we go back to. It's our default mode. That is activated during inattentive wandering of our minds. So we see the default mode network becoming active when we're daydreaming, when we're drifting into thoughts of the past, and when we're anticipating the future. Okay? Now, depression is kind of dwelling on past regrets, and anxiety is an anticipation of a difficult future. But this structure here is switched off as soon as we actually consciously direct our attention. And we find that this area of the brain is bigger, has more connections, and is more active in those people who suffer from depression and other mental illnesses. So, thinking about depression, we need to science the heck out of it. Well, what do we need to focus on? We've got good treatments for depression. Okay, we've got good psychotherapies, we've got cognitive behavioral therapy, interpersonal therapy, a whole host of therapies work well. And we also have antidepressants. But we lack an effective treatment for preventing depression from coming back. Okay, people relapse. In one of the best studies that we have, we took a very large cohort of people and we followed them up for 15 years. 85% of the people who suffer depression will have another episode over that 15 years. That's terrible. That's nearly 9 out of the 10 are going to be struck by one of the most devastating illnesses that we know. So the problem of relapse is a really significant one. This is first episode of depression. People have a 50 to 60% chance of recurrence here. Okay? And this episode of depression is usually brought on by a really significant life event. So somebody will have lost a loved one, a relationship might have broken up, or they might have become unemployed. This is the second episode of depression. People have 70% chance of recurrence. This is the third episode. There's a 90% chance of recurrence. Okay? The more you get depression, the more likely you are to get it again. And here, it doesn't have to be the death of a loved one, unemployment. It can be quite a minor factor. Depression shows a kindling phenomenon. It's more and more easy for the brain to catch fire once we've had one episode of depression. Okay? It's something that's going to come back across the lifespan. And we need to be realistic about that. And when it comes back, it's likely to come back worse, and it's likely to last longer, and it's likely to leave the person with more long-term disability. Okay, so we know that antidepressants can help prevent relapse, but we think mindfulness might be a key intervention in helping stopping people from getting depression across their lifetime. Why is that? Well, depression is characterized by a number of hallmarks. First of all, there's negative thinking. That thinking is automatic, okay? It's also self-referential. What I mean by that is if something difficult happens in the environment to that person, they tend to blame themselves. They make it about them. That's what distinguishes a depressive mindset, somebody who's recovered from depression, from somebody who's never had depression. Okay? The depressive makes it about them. They blame themselves. And these thought patterns are precipitated by stress. Well, mindfulness is the choiceful direction of attention. Okay? So it might deal with this automatic aspect. Okay? And through self-compassion, we might reduce the blaming. And here in Singapore, we're starting to reach out to schools to see whether we can immunize young people against this kind of depressive mode of thinking. So through the Brahm Center, there's a program that was developed in England called the .B program. It comes from the Mindfulness in Schools project. And this is going into schools and teaching young people mindfulness. Thank you ever so much for your kind attention. Thank you for participating in my mindfulness exercises. Thank you ever so much.